It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground!
Welcome back to Disney Marvels for the week of June 5th, 2022. This is episode 179. Disney Marvels, the show about Disney, Marvel, Lucasfilm, Muppets, Pixar, 20th Century, the parks, and much, much more. If it has to do with Disney, it's fair game. I'm your host, Matthew Graken. Sorry, no poll this week, but there should be a poll coming next week. This upcoming week. Yes, not last week. Upcoming week. Poll coming soon. Hopefully, we'll have to find a topic. If you have a suggestion for a poll, please let me know. I will put it up there. As long as it's appropriate. Let me know. So, on that bombshell, we will be back after these words from our friends and sponsors.
Well, hello there. I hope you're enjoying this week's episode of the Disney Marvels podcast. If you have a little bit of free time and you'd like to check out something a little bit different, I encourage you to listen to the Chat Disney podcast. My name is Mercedes and I am one half of the Chat Disney podcast. Myself and my friend Tash are both based in the UK and we give a female British view on all things Disney, from parks, movies and even more. Check out the Chat Disney podcast at chatdisney.co.uk.
And now, on with the show. Kenobi is continuing its reign across the Disney Plus platform. Now securely the number one show ever streamed on Disney Plus. It's been huge. It's been fairly well received by most people. And it is something a lot of people are saying it's a breath of fresh air to Star Wars. Most people. And we'll get into this. And to get into something that involves most people, but not everyone, I, of course, have to have a primary example of a superior human race person. And this would be Matthew Leonard, of course. Welcome back to the show, Matt. How are you doing?
Well, hello there. I'm
there.
good. How are you?
Doing good. I've been listening to James Arnold Taylor's podcast, and it's very interesting.
I'm loving that, so many voice actors, because Rob Paulson does one that's really good, and I just found out that I don't know their name. Christy Carlson Romano and Will Friedle do one, and I've seen little bits and clips of it, and it looks like a really good. A really good voiceover sort of podcast, like the kind of stuff that they talk about. Whereas Rob just kind of gets together with his voiceover buddies and they just tell stories and do silly voices and things. But Will Friedle and Christy Carlson Romano really do pick it apart and go the process of creating characters and developing characters and voicing characters, and that's really good. I didn't even know James Arnold Taylor did one.
Yeah, I've seen some of the YouTube stuff that Christy and Farrell do together, and they just have a good chemistry together. These years. And James Arnold Taylor, appropriately enough, it's called Talking to Myself, where he does a litany of characters that it's just him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
So he does an introductory guy, and then the tech guy, and the announcer guy, and the producer of the show.
He's very talented.
So all these different characters, talented. And then he goes into some of the process and just talks about life and what's going on, and just kind of talks to people.
Yeah, he's very, very talented, James Arnold.
Yeah.
If you've never seen him, he
has a stand-up act, apparently.
He does an introduction of himself where he goes through all of his characters, and it's brilliant. It's hysterical and it's funny and it's fantastic if you can find it and watch. Watch it. It's really real good. And then I saw him do back when they were doing Star Wars weekends at Hollywood Studios in Florida, and they did. And what it was a sort of like a mini Star Wars celebration, and like over the course of a weekend they would have. It was usually like somebody from. It was like they would try to mix it up, so it was like, one original trilogy actor, a prequel trilogy actor, a sequel trilogy actor, a Clone Wars voice actor, and a Rebels voice actor, and it would be so like one weekend it would be like Mark Hamill, Ewan McGregor, John Boyega, D. Bradley Baker, and Vanessa Marshall. And then the following week, it would be like Warwick Davis. I don't know who was it. Jimmy Smits. Daisy Ridley. But anyway, one weekend during that week or during those weekends, James Arnold Taylor he was like their MC, and he did a bunch of interviews with Mark Hamill and Ian McDiarmid and Warwick Davis and John Boyega and Daisy Ridley and so on and so on and so on and so on and so forth. And one of them was, the only reason that I know about this was he did an interview with Frank Oz. This is actually one of the few times like Frank did something. Like Frank,
yeah, right. He actually wanted to participate.
Made a public appearance, which Frank never does. Frank did a public appearance at one of these Star Wars weekends, and James, and I think you can find it on YouTube. James Arnold Taylor did one of the best interviews with Frank Oz you'll ever find. I mean, they went through all of the characters that Frank did for Muppets and also Yoda, and talked about Frank's entire career, talked to him about the films that he directed. I mean, it was just not just Star Wars stuff, but like everything. And it was a dynamite interview.
I'll have to look this up.
Yeah, I'll see if I can find you the link, because it's one of the best Frank interviews I've ever seen.
Yeah, he seems like just generally a nice, well, not Frank, James Arnold Taylor, very generally nice guy.
Frank's not nice. He's grumpy and miserable. But we wouldn't have him any other way.
No, Frank is Frank.
No, I understand Frank Oz is quite nice, but he's also quite grumpy and miserable.
Depends on which angle you come at him with.
Yeah. You gotta be really on your game talking to Frank Oz. You gotta be really on your game, because he'll call you out if you're not on it. And I've seen people who do interviews with Frank and do their homework, and the interview goes really well. I've seen some interviewers who are totally unprepared, and as soon as the interview goes, I'm here with Frank Oz, the voice of Miss Piggy and Fozzie Bear, and you can just see the cloud over Frank's head and go, it's so much more than just doing the voice. And he'll rip into him right away, and the rest of the interview will be just him telling them that they don't know how to do their job, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Do your due diligence.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But none of this is what we.
Yeah, this is completely irrelevant.
This is a new record for us. We haven't even gotten to introducing this week's show. We've already gone off topic. My daughter will be both proud and disappointed of us in the same breath.
This is gotta be a new record. You were 30 seconds into it, and
not even 5 seconds in, and we've talked about everything else except what we came here to talk about. Good job.
Well, technically, we were talking about Star Wars.
Okay.
I'll
a little further for you. We were going to talk about Kenobi, and we were talking about James Arnold Taylor. So there you go.
Yeah, we're really not that far off on there.
we were talking about Kenobi, just not the Kenobi we were going to be talking about.
We're talking about Kenobi, but not that Kenobi, or not the other Kenobi either. We're talking about this Kenobi who's made more appearances than the other two Kenobis, but he's not the main Kenobi.
He's, we should. He needs to be given a bit of credit. I'm gonna go. You know what? Forget Kenobi. We're just gonna talk about James Arnold Taylor tonight.
There we go.
Because he really
plans, folks.
He really did do a fantastic job on Clone Wars with that character. He was wonderful, and Matt Lanter too has done such a great job with Anakin, and really.
Yes.
Just the way that both of them were able to open up those characters. It's weird. Have you played? You and I haven't had this conversation. Have you played Lego Star Wars? The new one?
No.
Oh,
no, but I've heard many good things.
It's really bizarre in that there are a number of, like, Billy D. Williams voices Lando. Anthony Daniels voices 3PO, and then like Han Solo is a sound-alike, Princess Leia is a sound-alike, Luke Skywalker is a sound-alike, so on and so forth. But then when you get to the prequel movies, Obi-Wan is James Arnold Taylor.
Yes.
And Anakin is Matt Lanter, and Padme is, I'm blanking on her name, Catherine something. Bell? No, that's not it. It'll come to me. Catherine something. I can't think of her name. And it's and the clones are all D. Bradley Baker doing. D. Bradley Baker is Jango Fett, and then all of the clones. And it's really sort of almost unsettling to hear, like Matt, with James Arnold Taylor, not so much because he does sound so much like Ewan McGregor, but like Matt Lanter sounds nothing like Hayden Christensen. So to hear like Matt Lanter do Hayden Christensen's lines,
Catherine Tabor,
that's it. Catherine Tabor. That's her. I knew it was something like, I knew it was Catherine something. But it's to hear like Matt Lanter and Catherine Tabor do Hayden Christensen and Natalie Portman's lines. It's really bizarre. It's almost a little unsettling in an entertaining way.
He talked about the recording sessions on one of his latest episodes.
Yeah.
For this, and it's quite the interesting story where they had them played through the movie, and then they had them redo the lines, but in a Lego-fied version, because obviously it's not going to be as dramatic. There's going to be a little more of a comedy element into it, but it's become so popular where people have stripped the audio out of the game and replaced the movie audio with the Lego audio, and you can find these apparently online.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So you have the actual, Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor battling it out and on there, but you have James Arnold Taylor doing the voice and doing the other doing Anakin. Fun. So you have the Legos version of it because it's timed up perfectly.
Oh, that's funny. But
funny. People actually like the Lego version
Well, they also because it's Lego and they don't take it too seriously, they also call out, like, they're not afraid to kind of call out the shortcomings of the prequel movies. Yeah. Like if they get to it, I think I can't remember where it is, but there's something where Padme asks Anakin something about sand, and he's like, "We don't have time for that right now. We're not going to talk about that. Sand isn't important."
Nice. Yeah. So
and they openly admit, like, we're not going to do that conversation because it really is just so bad.
It goes too far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about. We're
a few things to talk about.
We got a couple things.
We started the last week, but we want to go in a little more depth this week regarding.
You froze.
We touched on Andor, but we didn't really get into Bad Batch too much.
Well, because we for people who are wondering, we actually recorded Saturday night. We'll give we'll pull back the curtain and go behind the scenes a little.
Sure.
We did the recording Saturday night, and we all kind of knew going into that recording that there was still another day of Star Wars celebration ahead of us. But we were all busy Sunday. We all have families and lives and things. So Matt and I agreed that we're like, well, we'll do a wrap up on Celebration, the rest of the Celebration stuff next week, which is this week, which was after last week, but before next week,
right?
Which might happen again sometime soon. Look, when will then be now?
When is now? Now, soon.
Okay.
I was watching a bit of that movie the other day. It came on something I was recording. And
my daughter has been begging me for months to watch it with her, and we haven't had a chance yet. But I think sometime over the summer we will. Dad, can I watch Spaceballs? Can we watch Spaceballs? When can we watch Spaceballs? Like very soon. Sir.
Of course, she doesn't. She hasn't seen it then.
Yeah, no, she hasn't seen it. But
for a treat. Yeah, I've been waiting to show Callan it. I think he just needs to be a little bit older still.
Yeah. That's a young
Paige
age.
has seen it. Paige loves it. I've been trying to convince her to watch Birdcage.
Oh, Birdcage. Now you're going to get me talking about Hank Azaria and how brilliant he is.
Speaking of voice actors,
Speaking of brilliant voice actors, Hank Azaria. When you know what, you got Hank Azaria, and I'm just going to say this, and then we can get back to Kenobi and Star Wars. Hank Azaria single-handedly stole a film from Gene Hackman, Christine Baranski, Nathan Lane, and Robin Williams. That's talent. I mean...
And Carissa Flocker.
Yeah. What?
The girlfriend.
Oh yeah. Wait, is she? What? Is she in that?
Isn't it Carissa Flockhart?
Oh, Carissa Flockhart.
Yes.
Maybe, I don't remember. Oh yeah, I think it is. Yeah. And then the son was somebody at the time. The son was somebody. He was on TV.
Yeah. Dan Futterman.
Yeah, I recognize the name, but I can't think of what he's in. But people didn't come here to hear us talk about the Birdcage.
No.
Or James Arnold Taylor for that matter.
Well, at least he's related, you know.
Or Frank Oz, but whatever.
But it all has to do with Star Wars and the Star Wars weekends at the Hollywood Studios, which were brilliant and fantastic.
Yeah, they stopped doing those.
No, yeah, because they switched over the fan things and everything, and they that's when they transitioned into Celebration, and the studio stopped running the fan site and someone else took over. I started hearing some of the backstory to that on Coffee with Kenobi, and the podcast Dan Zare. He was at Celebration, and the guy who runs it, he had on his show, and they talked about that. And I started listening to that episode, and I haven't finished it yet.
But we were going to talk about Kenobi.
Anyway,
I'm doing my best to get us on top, or something
in the Bad Batch.
Bad Batch? Is that what we're talking about?
Well, we said let's talk about Kenobi, so I brought up the best.
I'm going to do us both of it. Just stop recording now, and let's just go back and do it again. Let's start from the top. Because honestly, we're about 20 minutes in, and I'm just gonna say it. This is the worst show we've ever done. This is
Really?
I mean, it's this and the WandaVision episode, and so far this is. And I'll own that. That was my fault. I was just not engaged in that episode. But this is awful. We're 20 minutes in. This is easily the worst show we've done.
All right.
Okay, really, for real.
Welcome back to Disney Marvels, the show about James Arnold Taylor.
We'll fix it in post. We'll cut most of this out. Oh, God.
Who's got the duct tape?
Oh, boy.
Wax lips?
Man, I just had them.
Did you check your other pants?
I don't have no other pants.
So out of the other announcement, we had Tales of the Jedi.
God.
Let's go back to Celebration.
You start talking, I'll catch up.
So we got Tales of the Jedi, which looks to be, it's going to be 6-episode Disney Plus animated story about two paths and two choices. You're going to follow how two different Jedi ended up where they ended up and how they ended up there, and how life kind of worked out for them. One being Ahsoka, so how she grew up and ended up in Clone Wars and so forth. And the
Ahsoka babies.
Yeah, you see the Ahsoka baby, see her mother. And so she'll get 3 episodes of the 6, and then the other 3 are going to be to a young Count Dooku.
Now, I thought they were going to do some Mace Windu episodes as well.
This is all that's on StarWars.com. That's how they mentioned.
I thought I saw something about Mace Windu. Maybe I was wrong.
He may show up in it.
Sure. Well, yeah. I mean, he's. So this is why we need to do. This is why we need Emily, because she knows this stuff. Wasn't Mace was Dooku's?
No, Qui-Gon.
Qui-Gon was his apprentice.
Right.
But Mace trained him, didn't he? Mace trained
Mace
Dooku.
or was it Yoda? Let me pull up my quick reference book here.
Sure.
And find that out. But the either way, yeah. So it's gonna have Count Dooku, how he ended up from a Padawan and moving forward. Also, it's gonna bring back Qui-Gon, so we're gonna finally see him after a long time. And Liam Neeson is returning to voice him.
That's fun.
And his son. Dooku. Where is Dooku? Dooku starts with a D. Where's the undercount? Chopper? We don't need to know about Chopper.
What?
Why don't you tell us about the Ahsoka news? Besides her showing up in Tales of the Jedi, which a very good.
Let's sort of finish talking about this, because I'm sitting here now. They've got a few sort of preview images from this series, not many, but a couple, and this looks like it's going to be a really gorgeous series. I'm excited about Tales of the Jedi.
It looks to be really good. And they're really. They're putting you can tell they're putting a lot of effort and everything into it. No exact time frame on when this is going to.
Yeah, no date yet, but
definitely not this year.
But this looks like it's going to be. I mean, and it's one of those things that just sort of fills it out nicely and fills out these characters nicely and gives them a bit more backstory to them and a bit more bottom to them, and I gotta say, I'm looking forward to this.
Right, and they're buying Yeah, I mean Miyazaki's animation style,
Oh yeah, sure.
which is absolutely brilliant.
Ashley Eckstein is confirmed as returning for Ahsoka to voice Ahsoka in this.
They also did put out a warning that you're gonna have some fun and just some like lighthearted moments, but you're gonna get some really dark.
Dark stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
I guess especially with Dooku.
Yeah.
But I mean, even Ahsoka, I could see they could even.
Well, there's a lot when you really start to go down that rabbit hole in terms of Dooku's history, the whole Dooku and Sifo Dyas and all of that stuff. And once you kind of go down that rabbit hole and start exploring that stuff, there's some really interesting stuff there in terms of the dynamic between Dooku and Qui-Gon and Palpatine or Darth Sidious rather, and Sifo Dyas, and so on and so on and so forth. It's some really interesting stuff. So I'm excited to see them actually do some of that stuff and bring it to the forefront.
All right, got the answer here. Dooku was trained under Master Yoda.
Oh, okay. It was Yoda.
Of course, his connection to a Ashad Ventress, which I doubt that they'll get into that, or his even Darth Maul.
This is all going to be sort of. I think this is going to be sort of Dooku pre-Phantom Menace.
Yes.
Or just after Phantom Menace,
Well, definitely before Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
I guess it all depends on when did he turn over. Was it after the fall of Maul, or?
I believe it is shortly after Phantom Menace, after the fall of Maul.
But it's going to take place at multiple steps. So you'll get probably like the first part of him joining the Order, maybe another point where he's training and start to get outside influences, and then third part probably his fall, because you got 3 episodes.
Jim Henson's Count Dooku babies.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dooku babies.
Oh gosh. Moving on.
Moving right along.
Since we were talking about Ahsoka, let's talk about Ahsoka, because this is exciting and I can't wait for this.
I wish they would release what they showed.
Yeah, I think soon. Not yet, but soon we'll see it.
We got all the other stuff, so.
Yeah. There was footage shown last week at Star Wars Celebration. For people who haven't heard this or don't know yet, there was there was a little snippet shown from Ahsoka, just a little tidbit of what they had filmed. It featured Ahsoka, it featured Sabine, it featured Chopper, and from the back of the head, it featured Hera Syndulla, and I cannot wait to see Hera in live action. This is the first official confirmation we've had that Hera. I think I read an article at one point that said, well, Hera might be in it, and I was like, well, maybe. But this is the first confirmation we've had of Hera. I think they said the scene that was shown showed them aboard the Ghost, which I can't wait to see.
It was basically a recreation of the last scene of Rebels.
Well, they said the thing.
There's something about a mural.
Right. They said it was two. They showed Hera, Chopper, and Ahsoka on the Ghost, and then they showed another clip which was Sabine standing in front of a mural of Ezra, which is sort of taken from. It's not the exact last shot of Rebels, but it's one of the last things we see in Rebels. If you've watched the finale, so that's kind of exciting. That's very exciting.
Which I'm still working on that. I'll get there. I'm slowly trudging through that one on top of everything else that I'm trying to watch and catch up on. So yeah, that's coming along. They're still filming and working on that.
They just started filming about a month ago.
Yeah. But even Filoni says
they started on Rosario Dawson's birthday.
Yep. Filoni is saying that even the crew, the cast and crew, filming this, whenever the cast comes out in costume and everything, everyone is in awe of just the presence of these characters in person. He had a lot to say positive about. I mean, obviously he's not going to say anything negative, but a lot of positive.
This is the worst show I've ever worked on.
I can't believe I came up with this garbage.
This is almost as bad as that one podcast with the two guys who sit around talking about Disney and Muppets.
I can't believe they actually paid me to come up with this stuff. Yeah, so.
But that's we can actually lead that into something that naughty boys that we are. We missed something last week when we were talking about Kenobi, and I think we finished up the show, and I think the next morning I woke up and went, dang it, and I messaged Matt and said, I wanted to talk about that, and he went, yeah, I wanted to talk about it too, which was the appearance of Tamara Morrison in his little cameo in Kenobi.
Episode 2, part 2.
In part 2, as a clone trooper, and that's 501st armor. That's the armor of the 501st. It's just a little brief cameo. And it is Tamora Morrison playing this clone, which you and I kind of talked about last month. The idea of him starting to play the clones and having to start to do follow up what D. Bradley Baker did. I can tell you when we were watching the show, when we were watching episode 2, my son, who is a massively huge fan of Captain Rex, jumped up and got really excited. And he went, Dad, it's Rex. And we went, yeah, it's not Rex. But I have no doubt in my mind that was a test to see, could they convincingly do Rex? And the answer is yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And I have, we're going to see Hera, we're going to see Sabine, we're going to see Chopper. I'm fairly certain we're going to see Rex. I'm fairly certain we're going to see Tamora Morrison play Captain Rex, and that's also very exciting to me. And
I had a similar thought whenever you got the camera panning along. I'm like, no, they're not. Is that going to be? Is it really? Oh, it's not quite exactly. It's a clone of Rex.
Yeah. Well, he, just sort of the voice was just so there.
Yeah.
And I guess this is a tribute to what D. Bradley Baker did, impersonating or being Tamora Morrison and finding, sort of doing an impression of Tamora Morrison and then finding the multiple variation, how to individualize the characters but still stay within kind of that vocal range. And then to flip that, it's a tribute to Tamora Morrison to now be doing D. Bradley Baker's work. When you heard him speak as the clone, I thought it was D. Bradley Baker. I was convinced it was D. Bradley Baker, and I actually had to Google it. I'm like, no, that's Tamora Morrison as the clone. That's fantastic, and it gets me really excited at the idea that I think we're going to see Rex.
Thinking along your lines as well, that I don't think there's almost any doubt that his character Rex will show up at some point.
Well, my daughter keeps talking about the fact that she's a massive Ahsoka fan, and she keeps saying that Rex and Ahsoka are so, their stories and their story arcs are so intertwined particularly by the time you get to the end of Rebels, and particularly when you get to the end of Clone Wars, they're so tight with each other that you have to see Rex. If you don't see Captain Rex and Ahsoka, then they didn't do it right,
Well, and kind of leads also to the thought of how can you bring everybody else in, but not Rex as well.
Right.
So,
but I'll tell you, you know what? I'm really kind of curious if they're the one character, and I think I said this when we did the thing about the animated characters a couple weeks ago when we talked about this, or last month when we talked about this.
Episode 176. Wait, nope, 174.
One of them.
Either way.
The May 4th episode.
Yes.
The one that released on May 4th. I forgot what I was going to say. No, the one character who I'm really kind of like, are they going to go there? Are they going to do that? Can they do it? How will they pull that off? And how it will look? We're going to get Ahsoka. We're going to get Hera. We're going to get Chopper. We're going to get Sabine. We're going to get Thrawn. We're going to get Ezra. We're most likely going to get Rex. Are we going to get Zeb? And I'm really curious to see if they're going to do it. And if they do it, how are they going to do it? And can they do it? And, I was pleasantly surprised to see Cad Bane live action. Are they going to top that and do Zeb live action?
They could.
There.
Depends on the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely could. It was episode 174. So, strangely enough, 174 on May 4th. Yes. Yeah, so there's a lot of they're really doing a nice job of trying to marry everything together between the animated, the live action.
Yeah.
And just keep these characters going and
keep them alive.
Giving you more exposure in a different medium. So it's it's been fantastic. And speaking of clones, you have the Bad Batch 2 trailer that was released. And with that, we get to see kind of where things are moving forward. That was originally supposed to be a summer 2022. So this year release got pushed back for unknown exact reasons, production, or just not to compete with other stuff.
And COVID messed with everybody.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So that's now going to be fall of 2022. So we'll just have to wait a month or two or three longer. So nothing too bad. But
we saw Papa Palpatine in there in the trailer.
Yeah.
Palpatine
makes a very eerie appearance. Crosshair is back. To what extent? It's hard to say. Is he back with them? Is he still an adversary? What is his angle?
We'll see Sid again.
Sid, yep.
Who's a fun character.
Coming back.
I think Rhea Perlman enjoys. Sometimes you can hear a voice actor really enjoying their work, and you can hear Rhea Perlman enjoying her work.
Oh, she sounds like she's having the time of her life.
Yeah. And I think it's sort of the character itself is so kind of, the character is, let's admit it, the character is kind of like a Star Wars Carla Tortelli. If you think of Carla in the bar giving these little nicknames to, I can't remember what she used to call Diane something, and then she had another name for Frasier, and she had another nickname for Cliff, and which are not flattering nicknames at all.
No.
They're sort of affectionate insults. These slightly unflattering nicknames that she has. And you see her doing that with the clones, Goggles and Smiley and whatever she calls them. And it's sort of the Star Wars equivalent of Carla Tortelli, and I think she enjoys being able to sort of slip back into that character and that mindset a little bit, and
working in a bar,
kind of play that character without straight up playing that character.
Yeah, now that you mention, she's in a bar with these two buffoons that are constantly visiting there.
Right, exactly.
So, yeah, it's and I like her lines that they just kind of tease about it. Well, we are free. Oh, that's what you think. And, it just kind of hints at that. Omega's got some battle armor now.
Yeah.
She's becoming more part of the team. And just a lot of action, a lot of stuff going on. So I was excited for it when the season 1 ended, and I'm still excited for it, and still really looking forward to what we have for that. It looks like just another fantastic series.
Yeah.
And then what else? Did you want to talk about the elephant in the room?
Yeah, I think we should.
I think it definitely needs to be spoken to, or
I think it needs to be addressed.
It definitely needs to be addressed because it is nauseating.
Yeah, that too.
It made me kind of question our last episode when I thought about, okay, we were not attacking the person. We were just talking about the job that she was doing and what we thought at the time.
Let's put our cards on the table and talk about what this is, which is last week we got together and we talked about Kenobi, which is good. And within that episode, we talked about what we liked and what we didn't like. And within that episode was the comment that, the third sister just didn't work as a villain. And I think the comment that I made was, I said, I felt the acting a little stiff, and I thought I saw her acting. I caught her acting. It didn't feel like a natural performance. I think it's one thing to say, hey, I don't, there are a lot of actors who I don't care for. There are television shows I don't care for, movies I don't care for, singers, musicians I don't care for. Yeah, and you know what? If I don't, and I've said this here on the podcast, that if there's something I don't like, if there's a movie that I don't like, you know what? I just don't like it. I get on with my life, and if there's a movie I don't like, I don't watch it, and I get on with my life, and I do something else. I can't imagine any actor that I would actively seek out on their social media, on their Facebook, on their Twitter, on their Instagram, or whatever, to say, you know what, you suck. I can't imagine doing that. What a waste of time. What are you really doing? And then on top of that, the mindlessness, the sheer mindlessness of attacking them for their race, attacking them for their gender, attacking them for... Guess what? Star Wars is not just white guys. There's a whole rainbow of colors and characters of every shape and size. And it baffles me. And again, I fully recognize and own the fact that I'll say it. I was one of the people in the group to say, you know what, Moses Ingram just didn't do anything for me. But to attack her,
there's a difference between saying that
that too. Go ahead.
You don't care for their portrayal, their performance, their professional work that they put forward, and that's not attacking the person. That is a critique of a professional
job.
Like, when I watched Hamilton, I said everyone did fantastic, but I didn't think Lin-Manuel's singing voice held up to everybody else's. That I'm not critiquing him. That Hispanic man did. No, that is a critique on a professional performance that, just like any other job, us being in the media,
it's something that just didn't work for me.
Right.
That's all right.
This is our quote unquote professional critique of a subject matter that this is what we talk about. This is what we do the show for, to talk about. Okay, we like this and we didn't like that. That's what a review is. You're going to have the positives, you're going to have the negatives. But it's at no point are we ever going, this person should never be in this show because of something that is completely unrelated to the show, the craft, the anything. To have the gall to go after, especially in something like Star Wars that is about hope and unity and found family, is appalling. It's not the first time.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. That Moses Ingram, Jake Lloyd, Ahmad Best, Daisy Ridley, Kelly Marie Tran, Joan Boyega. I mean, we've been down this road way too many times.
And they're all fantastic.
And I'll add one more to that list. Hayden Christensen. 20 years ago this week, Hayden Christensen was considered the Antichrist. It's the truth.
It's true. It is.
And now, of course, everybody's just slobbering over themselves because he's playing Darth Vader. And actually, just to get sort of back to Kenobi, he's playing Darth Vader. He's wearing the suit for Darth Vader. James Earl Jones' voice.
Did the voice again.
What's Hayden doing, really?
Walking around in a suit, just doing hand gestures.
And again, I should be careful because I don't want to kick Hayden Christensen.
No.
While he's enjoying this, let him have this moment. Let him have this. But
both Hayden and Ewan at Celebration publicly came out and said that they kind of separate themselves, and the backlash that they received 20 plus years ago,
right?
20 years ago for Clone Wars and so forth. Ewan a little bit longer because he started off in Phantom Menace, which was 99. It did hurt. It was hurtful to them because here they thought they were bringing forth this great story and everything, continuing in the Star Wars universe, something that George Lucas had promised us for years, and everyone was excited for it. I think so. At some point, sometimes, especially when there is a great gap in a series, that the fan base's personal expectations outgrow the reality of what the creator can ever present to them.
Right.
We've seen this now with Star Wars twice over. We've seen it in Harry Potter. We've seen it in other series where the fans themselves just get this weird image in their head that it has to be this way, and whenever it's not that way, the people who are actually in charge and whose job it is to create this stuff is wrong, not the fan who just imagines it and has no. But again, to attack an actor who was hired for a part, and
it's really not to downplay the actor's involvement in it, but it's a cog in the machine.
Yeah.
I mean, there are hundreds of people. There are writers at work. There are directors at work. It's a creative process. There's the actor. The actor's job is to try and give life to the lines as best they can. But it's the actor because it's the actor, and we go, well, I don't like the third sister, and therefore I don't like the actor. But again, to then attack the actor, I don't get it. I don't get that sort of spitting that kind of venom, and then again, as I said before, to spit that sort of venom and go beyond just attacking the performance, I'm gonna borrow from across the tracks an actor from another popular sci-fi series who was making fun of the fandom, and I think he said, and it applies perfectly here, better than anything else. Get a life. You know.
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get a life. There's so much. If that's how empty, how pitiful, how pathetic, how miserable is your life that you've got to attack an actress because you didn't like stop watching the show.
If it bothers you that much, turn it off.
If it bothers you, turn it off. Stop watching it. Read a book.
It's not that person's. Yeah, it's not that person's. Like you said, their sole responsibility. They didn't. They auditioned for it amongst hundreds of other people. It was the director who chose them, and it was the producers and a whole bunch of the casting agent who said, "Okay, this person will fit what we envision this character to be." And the director is the one that says whether or not the performance that this person's giving us fits the vision of what the director decides the show is going to be. The producer backs that up. There's a lot of people involved, and that goes for movies, TV shows, streaming things, animated, everything. It's not just the one person, and for someone, or in this case, several people, to feel that they will make themselves feel better by attacking an individual who was doing their job is absolutely disgusting and not how we as humankind should be treating each other.
Yeah. And I agree. I've quoted Bill Shatner. Now let's quote Ewan McGregor, because I think he summed it up so beautifully the other day. If you saw his reaction to it, where he said, basically what he said was, if you are a racist, then you are not a Star Wars fan in my mind. And I thought, he's got it. He's right.
Yeah.
You don't deserve Star Wars. If you're gonna treat somebody like that, you don't deserve Star Wars.
No, because like I said, Star Wars is about hope and found family.
Yeah.
About people finding each other and supporting each other and making each other better.
And I'm gonna do a rare moment in this show where I'm gonna say, I wish if you're gonna be that venomous about something, that angry with it. I said earlier, I would never contact an actor or a performer. And I thought about, the one person, I think the only type of person that I would sort of reach out and go and walk across the street and go, you stink at your job. Politicians. There were a couple politicians that I would probably go after and say, you're really lousy at your job. You want to get angry about something? Don't get angry at an actor. Get angry at your local senator and tell him to pass H.R. 8. Or ask him why H.R. 8 has been sitting for the last 2 years, even though the House passed it. And that's the only time I'll ever get political on this show. But no, I do feel there's something to get angry about. There's something to actually, go out and make somebody's life miserable about that. But to attack an actor over a part that they played, God, get a life. I mean, just how pitiful and miserable.
But what wasn't miserable?
What wasn't miserable?
Part 3 of Kenobi.
Part 3 of Kenobi was not miserable. This show has been pretty miserable.
To the one person still listening, hi, Dad, how you doing?
Hi, Dad. Hi, Mr. Graken. We had 10 minutes in there that was really good. I give this show a 4.
we talk about part 3, or are you talking about episode 179 of Disney Marvel's podcast?
I don't even remember anymore. Just, you know what? I'm just giving a score of 4 to something. You can put it on whatever you want. The Twinkie you ate before the show, that's a 4. The cat sitting in my laundry, she gets a 4. You,
My water
listener,
bottle.
you right now, you listening to this show, you get a 4 too.
My water bottle here gets a 4.
No, your water bottle gets a 2.
2. All right.
Yeah, that. I saw that water bottle before. That's a 2. Hold that up again. What is that? What is that? That's not even. What is that? That's not even a. My God, that's not even a real brand of anything.
Pure Life?
It's not real. Yeah, that's a 2. Look at that. That is the dumbest looking wrapper I've ever seen on a water bottle.
It makes you so mad that you want to.
I'm going to reach out to the Pure Life people on their various social media accounts and say, hey, Pure Life people, your wrapper stinks. And then I'm going to stick my tongue out at them. So, what'd you think?
Your father was a hamster and your mother smelled of elderberries.
I think that was the character from Kenobi this week. Frick.
Yeah.
Hey, is it? What is it? Is it Frick? Is it? Because I swear every time
I have no freaking idea.
Every time they said that character's name, they gave him a different name. I think throughout literally the course of the episode, I think he was Frank. I think he was Frick. I think he was Frank. I heard all 3 of those at one point or another. I don't think they ever decided what he was.
He was a spy. That's what he was. He was a turncoat.
He wasn't a turncoat. He supported the Empire. That was a great idea. Like, hey, let's get in the back of this van. He's got an Empire bumper sticker there.
Got the big old banner of the Empire flying in the.
You okay? You froze there.
Slowly pull. I'm still here. You here?
Okay. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. We'll cut that out later. Even the show has given up on us, man.
The internet is even giving up on us.
Even the podcast has decided I'm bored of you two. This is not what I signed up for.
Hey, Sadler. Yeah, Waldorf. It's that dumb bear again. Hey, Bear, you're not even funny in 3D.
Oh. So what'd you think of Kenobi?
I enjoyed it. Some parts I enjoyed more than others.
Sure.
I on a personal end was a little disappointed about the Vader and the Kenobi standoff.
The fight, yeah.
Where I'm disappointed from is that we kind of that it happened. I was hoping that we'd actually, as bizarre as this may sound, that they never actually interacted.
Yeah.
But I understand where this is leading from and to. This is kind of showing Kenobi's slow progress to going back to being the Kenobi that we know and that we end up knowing. Forcing him to go back to using the Force and the ways of the Jedi and everything, because he's completely abandoned it. He's lost all faith in the Jedi, and so to ignite the lightsaber again, to pitifully just use it in self-defense, and not even self-defense, but just basically blocking Vader, who was just filled with rage and anger towards Kenobi. And you have to understand why, because of what Vader's mindset is, that you did this to me. I am the way I am because you did this to me.
Yeah, Anakin does not blame himself at all. Anakin has never taken responsibility. It's always somebody else's fault.
Right. So yeah, it's. I don't even. Oh wait, do they have the guy on here? Freck. F-R-E-K. Voiced by Zach Braff.
I knew that.
So So that it's frack. So yeah, that was kind of, and it was just a matter of walking around, and Vader pops up around the corner and tries to bash him. And literally rakes him across the coals at the end. So that I was surprised that we got already, but also remember now that we're halfway through the series. It's to me, this series is going really fast.
Can I actually back up to something that I thought in episode 2?
Go ahead.
Because I don't think we're talking about episode 3 tonight. I think that ship has sailed. I think we have to admit at some point that a conversation about episode 3 is just not going to happen. So I'm going to go back and talk about episode 2. Something I noticed, and it might even be something I noticed in episode 1. I don't remember. But there was a point in one of the earlier Kenobi episodes, and maybe even 3 a little bit, where I watched him and I thought, this is kind of reminiscent of Luke's mindset in when we see him in episode 8. That sort of, the Jedi are dead. You know, there are no Jedi. There are no more Jedi. There are no more Jedi. And he that's the bottom line for him. That's the end. He sort of draws a line in the sand in terms of Jedi don't exist. And so it's interesting to me now to go back and see Mark Hamill and to see Luke Skywalker in episode 8, where he's like, the Jedi are dead, and it's probably for the best that way. That Luke now has that sort of same mindset.
You know what? I never fully drew that comparison, but you're absolutely right. Especially thinking of when Luke is going to go and burn the sacred text, and you know he's so focused. I gotta destroy this because the Jedi must end. And that's when Yoda shows up, and they have their little piece there,
and sings about his stick.
Yep, and then Yoda burns down the text.
Yeah,
and then Luke wants to go rescue it. A bunch of old books, you're saying, you know, and it is very reminiscent of that journey, and it's both about lost faith and then rediscovering it. So yeah, no, that is, I didn't even make that connection. You're absolutely right.
I just single-handedly brought this episode up from a 4 to a 6, all on my own.
Let's see if we can bring it back down.
Well, I think we could do that.
I don't think there's any.
I'd like if by the end of this show we got it up to an 8, but right now I think I'm giving this show a score of 6. Your water bottle is still a 2, and the Twinkie is still a 4. If you're listening to us, I think if you're still with us and you're still listening, I think we're gonna raise you up to a 7, dear listener. You are now a 7. You were 6, but now you're a 7. What else do we have that we can talk about?
Let's see. Something I noticed as well, in going back to our little rant, not all of these stormtroopers were male.
Yeah, that's been fun. I've actually really enjoyed that. Which is a really weird thing.
I was very pleasantly surprised. I was, you're getting, showing that it's not just, again, a guy in a suit. It is men and women have been recruited by the Empire to, take over everything.
Yeah.
Do
we have any idea who that woman was?
That voice, or the
woman who actually shows up and rescues Kenobi and Leia. She kind of showed up out of nowhere.
That is Tala.
What's a Tala?
I don't know, but the character's name here on IMDb is Tala, Tala, by Indra Varma.
I liked her. Yeah.
Yeah, she's an interesting character. I thought it was a little strange how quickly Kenobi trusted her.
I don't think he had any choice really, and I think when she shows up and shoots 6 stormtroopers, the assumption is that she's on your side. I mean, so you assume.
Yes. That's what you're.
But I liked her.
It doesn't show that there's really anything about her character that's been Star Wars past. Because I was wondering if they were going to bring in the woman that was supposed to be the love interest of Kenobi at some point during his time. But
no, she's
I guess
dead.
That's not her.
She's dead.
She dead too?
Yeah.
Yeah, well. These things happen, I guess.
You know,
yeah, she seems.
I'd like to see Tala show up in Andor. Wow.
I wouldn't.
I just made you think.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Look at that.
Yeah. Timing wise, it all kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
Because Andor takes place 5 years before Rogue One.
Yep.
And between the 2 seasons, the second season's going to lead us right into where we see him in Rogue One.
We're 7.5 now.
And we're getting there.
Okay. I'd like to see Tala and Cassian Andor in Andor. I'd like to see her. You know who else I really enjoyed, and I sort of started off not liking the character, and then I quickly the guy from episode 2, the con artist.
Oh,
I thought, I didn't care much for the. And I admittedly, you weren't supposed to like the character. He was supposed to be sleazy and slimy, and then when you find out that he's actually a good guy, he was a lot of fun. And I was sort of happy to see. I was happy to see that he wasn't slashed into a million pieces, which I kind of thought he was gonna be.
Right. And so someone brought up on another show that I was listening to about, he wasn't a con artist per se, because he was giving hope to people and saving them.
Right.
So it wasn't that he was trying to just take their money and give them nothing. He was carrying on the lore of the Jedi. And trying to help these refugees, basically, and try and get them to a better place. So, it's that character comes off initially as one way, but then you realize that there's a lot more to that character than on the surface. And then he shoots Forlom in the back.
He's also what Star Wars does really well, and is always fun to watch in Star Wars, which is a character who's kind of Star Wars is always about the light and the dark. It's the light side and the dark side. It's the good and the bad. It's the Empire and the Rebellion. It's the Resistance and the New Order. And
the duality of life.
I love when Star Wars comes up with a character who's just gray. Who's just Hondo Ohnaka is a great example. Hondo's not good or bad. He's just kind of out for Hondo. And this is kind of the I thought kind of the flip side of Hondo. He's a guy who does really, Hondo's does terrible things, but he's also sort of charming and likable, or he'll kind of, maybe I can redeem myself, and then he does something to redeem himself. But even when Hondo is doing something to redeem himself, it's so that it's always to the benefit of Hondo. Hondo will always do what is best for Hondo. And this was a guy who is doing good, and if he can profit off of that, that's okay too. It's this wonderful gray area that
but you gotta make a living.
Yeah, certain characters fall into, and I think he's in that great tradition of gray Star Wars characters.
And you know what? That's kind of what I was hoping we'd get a lot more of in Book of Boba Fett, and we didn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah. See, there's another example of that. Boba Fett could be a great gray character, but he's not. I think one of the reasons The Mandalorian was because in the first couple episodes of that, he's kind of a gray character. He's not he's just trying to survive. And then suddenly he's got this child, and it's like, well, I don't want to have this thing. I'm going to sell I'm going to sell this kid to some pretty bad dudes. And he redeems himself, but he also at the same time, he's a killer. He does things for money. He's a very freaky Mandalorian, the kind you don't take home to mother. No.
Oh, speaking of which, and I forgot to bring this up earlier, and we talked about beforehand, you'll be able to meet. I talked about it at the end of the last episode, but you can meet Mandalorian, the child, Boba Fett, and Fennec Shan at Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland. Not Disney World, because Disney World has a slight identity crisis with its Galaxy Edge, because now with the Star Cruiser Hotel, it is very much definitely set up at a specific time point in the Star Wars universe. Versus Disneyland that doesn't have that, so they kind of could play with the timeline some. Hopefully maybe creatives, I personally think, can get over that and just let all these characters mingle about and just have a whole bunch of awesome Star Wars-ness and not worry about the timeline as much. But that's me. Moving along.
Well, can I just say it's always, and I as you know, I'm not a theme parks guy. I haven't been down to and I don't know if I ever will.
Now, if your daughter has anything to say about that.
Yeah, I know, but it's weird to me, this effort to sort of make a theme park canon. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's weird.
I don't. Go
ahead, because it just doesn't make sense, and yet it's not. It's a theme park and it's not canon, but it is canon in certain degree. But it's not canon. They've sort of forced Galaxy's Edge into Star Wars through the back door.
Yeah, they incorporated it into some
so that people have a reason to go to Galaxy's Edge, as opposed to just like making a Star Wars. It's such a weird concept to me. But again, I'm not a theme parks person, so my opinion on this means nothing.
That's all right.
That's all right.
So when they initially were concepting creating it, they couldn't figure out what planet to make it. Should we make it Tatooine? But there's people who love Hoth. Well, let's make it Hoth. But then how do we make it snow and cold the whole time? Okay, so let's do the Forest Moon of Endor. So it's like, okay, but then we're limiting ourselves to that very specific point in time. But why don't we create our own planet? Something new, something that hasn't been explored before. And this way, it's not trapped to being only from episode 5 or only episode 3 or 2 or 1, whatever. So that's where they came up with Batu, which is the planet that you're supposed to be on. And like you said, through the brilliant ends of the marketing stuff, let's start. As we're building this and things are coming closer to fruition, we'll backdoor it into some of the materials, so now it does have a presence in Star Wars proper, and then you can get people more excited about it. So we'll have there's an episode where Vader and Thrawn are going after each other, and Vader sends some people out, send them to that planet of Batu and check out the spaceport there. Oh, so okay, that starts getting them interested. And then likewise, whenever they built the Halcyon, the Star Wars hotel, you have the book that came out of the honeymoon of Han Solo and Leia Organa, and it takes place on this Halcyon starship that's been around for hundreds of years. Where they're having now some of the dilemmas that this stuff takes place in the sequels. So 7, 8, 9. Disneyland is become a little more flexible on that, and they are now kind of okay. Maybe it's taking place there, but it doesn't have to be on that. Without getting too much spoilers into what goes on the Halcyon, there is very definite characters from the sequels that show up on there, and this is supposed to be complete immersion where the people, the paying guests who come onto the Halcyon and are now in the world of Star Wars, everything around them is Star Wars. There's not just regular people working there. You have Star Wars characters, quote unquote, working the spaceship. They board a shuttle. They go to Batuu. It is supposed to be completely immersion to the nth degree. That's where they're starting to have trouble. How do you have Book of Boba Fett, which takes place before Force Awakens, walking around when we haven't crossed that timeline yet, and explain to people who are supposed to be somewhere between episodes 8 and 9. So that's kind of the tricky part that they're dealing with. Is it supposed to be canon, everything that's happening there? No. But it is supposed to feel a lot of that. Are you supposed to get a lot? Have they brought it into the Star Wars world to make it the idea of Batuu and some of these characters and some of the stuff that's happening canon? Yes. If that makes sense.
Sort of.
Okay.
I still think it's weird to me.
Yeah. So I don't think.
But I'm not a Disney executive, and I don't have a theme park to run. So what do I know?
No, I don't think you'll read anywhere yet in the Star Wars literature. And correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't read the Star Wars literature. You'll eat a Ronto wrap. So, but the mix that, strangely enough, the snack mix that Wrecker and Omega eat can be found there.
Nice.
And I meant to get some last time, and I missed it. So next time I go, I will have to make sure to get some of that. It's a popcorn mix. So yeah, moving back to Kenobi. I think the show's still heading in a very good direction. And yeah, I'm excited with these new characters to see where they go. We haven't still figured out what's going on with the Grand Inquisitor. I'm liking the tension between the fifth brother and the third sister. And seeing Vader again being a not so nice person and just going around, showing why you fear him.
Yeah.
And I think as we discussed in the original movies, when we're introduced to Vader, he is a bad guy. He is the ultimate bad guy. You should fear him. Okay. But never told why.
Right.
And now they're showing us why. Because he'll just walk down the street and
he is one bad dude.
So, yeah, that's we got some of that stuff going on. The stormtroopers have been interesting. Like it's interesting to watch them just kind of like walking through a field. Yeah, our transport didn't show up. Can we hitch a ride? Okay, and just sitting on the back of the thing. So, what's your story? Where'd you come from? All right. And then, oh, here's our stop, and just kind of meander off. Not, they're not as stiff as, again, they were initially portrayed as.
Well, you saw that in Mandalorian, in Mandalorian. Yeah,
Mandalorian.
Who were just, I love those two characters, the two scout troopers who were just sitting there having the most insane conversation.
And trying to blast a coffee cup.
And then they start talking about, you're like, Can we beat the child? These are horrible things. What? He's just a little, like,
Stop it.
this is the most awful thing, and yet it's hysterical. It was so funny. Like, I think that's one of my favorite things in just all of Star Wars is the scene with those two scout troopers in Mandalorian.
And they're practicing their shots, trying to shoot a can or something like that.
Yeah, right.
What's wrong with the sights on this thing? I don't know.
They're out there and they're just bored. No,
it's yeah, and those moments are also great because it's Star Wars poking fun of itself.
Yeah.
So it's enjoyable, and you get a couple moments, but yeah, I'm enjoying this. I don't know how to rate this episode though. Out of a 10, I don't know. What would you give it out of 10?
I told you I'm just giving out 4s tonight.
Okay.
I don't care I don't know how good the episode is. It's getting a 4. It's about as good as the Twinkie, or the cat sitting in the laundry, or whatever. I don't know. How reading this episode, it's tough. It's a little weird. It's in the middle somewhere. It wasn't bad, and yet it wasn't. I don't know.
I know some people. I don't think fantastic. Thought it was fantastic. I'm not there. I'm not thinking it's fantastic. I'd almost say I'd want to give it a 6 because I gave the other two 7s. I'd give it a 6, but I don't think it's necessarily. I'm not saying it's worse than the other ones.
But it's not. Yeah.
It's not necessarily better either. There's points of it that it had some really good high points.
I'm gonna give it a Twinkie. Actually, I'm rating this episode as a Twinkie. It's not bad, but it's not entirely good.
I think that's a good way to sum up.
That was off the cuff that I did that.
So, tell me about the Twinkie. What about the Twinkie?
It's a big Twinkie. This episode it's a Twinkie episode. It wasn't entirely bad, but it wasn't entirely good. I ate it, I enjoyed it, and yet I felt a little empty. After I enjoyed it, I felt a little empty. Like I should have, maybe I could have eaten something else that would have been more beneficial to me, but I didn't. I ate the Twinkie. That's what this episode was.
Yes, it's the crash after the sugar high.
Sure.
Yes, all right.
I thought my daughter actually Googled this after we were talking about it last week.
Googled a Twinkie?
No, she was actually, because we were having this discussion, she actually looked it up that we were talking about last week that we didn't think that Leia was a 10-year-old, and actually no, that is a 10-year-old. The actress is 10.
Oh, really? That's even better.
She's just she's a very young 10. Or she looks like she's 8, but she's really 10.
Yeah, and she's petite, but keeping with consistency. Carrie Fisher is really short.
Short, yeah. I was just thinking that. I hadn't until you said it just now. Yeah, I forgot about that. That Carrie was.
There was a lot of camera work and.
A lot of apple boxes. Didn't you have to stand on an apple box to kiss Harrison Ford? Because Harrison is exceptionally tall.
Tall. Yeah, especially than Chewbacca.
Oh yeah, they were great friends. She used to like go and like, I think there's a story that like she used to go and ask Peter Mayhew to pick her up so that she could experience what it was like to be tall. Apparently, I don't know where I heard that, but supposedly that was a thing. That she, at some point, she if they were like hanging around with nothing to do, she would ask Peter Mayhew to pick her up and make her tall.
I got the lineup here for you.
What's this?
Peter Mayhew, 7'3".
Okay. Oh, the how tall they are.
Yep. Harrison Ford, 6'1".
6'1". Nice.
Mark Hamill, 5'9".
No. That's what I was gonna say. Let me guess. He's 5'9".
Yeah.
I would have said 5'10", but okay. Carrie's 5'4". 5'4", 5'5".
So we're going Carrie?
Carrie.
Yep.
5'4".
Carrie and her daughter, actually, strangely, are the same height.
What, 5'5" is it?
Keep going.
Down? Is it 5'4"?
Keep going.
5'3"?
Keep going.
No, Carrie Fisher is not 5'2".
You're right. She's not 5'2".
What is she?
5'1".
No.
Yeah. Carrie Fisher's height is listed as 5'1", same as her daughter.
No
Billy.
kidding.
She's 2 inches shorter than Paul Simon.
Huh.
Don't ask me why Paul Simon came up whenever I built.
Well, they were married. They were married.
Oh, okay.
You didn't know that?
I missed that. Her mom was 5'2".
Huh. Yeah, I knew Debbie Reynolds was short too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Paul Simon and Debbie. I'm trying to think. There's like, I think it's like 3 or 4 Paul Simon songs that are actually about Carrie Fisher. I think Hearts and Bones is about her. I think Train in the Distance is about her. A lot of the really, really good stuff from that sort of mid to late 70s period that he was writing is actually about her. Yeah.
I don't pay attention to celebrity relationship things.
Yeah. And I mean, especially ones from 45 years ago.
That too.
Yeah.
But yeah,
we got one more. So we gotta get that. Leaves us with Warwick Davis. He's got to be I say 3 foot. I say 3'2".
I have to look him up because he didn't come up. Oh no, I don't want to know how. 1,000 feet. Okay. What did you say?
I said 3'2".
All right, you're actually on the low end there.
3'5".
Very close. 3'6".
3'6". Nice. And Billy D. Williams has got to be we got to do Billy D. Williams is 6 foot, I think. Or in that he's a pretty lanky guy.
Yeah.
I'll do this all day. We'll guess Anthony Daniels' height.
If my phone was faster, my typing too. Tell Billy D.
See, I'm looking it up and it makes it no. Oh yeah, I was right on, baby.
Oh really?
6 foot.
Yeah, because when he's next to Harrison Ford, they're pretty almost eye to eye.
I think we'll end this bit here. How tall is we can? But this is a fun game. We should do this. Let's do this again, but not tonight because I think we've ruined this show enough.
Yeah, but I think this is a brilliant idea for a future episode. I
think this is a good place. No, I think this should be a recurring bit that we do where we'll pick something. We'll pick a cast. It can be a Star Wars cast or a Marvel cast, and we'll play Guess the Height. I
should do that with you on a Muppets one. Guess the height of the Muppet.
Guess the height of the Muppet. Wait, see, that's a whole thing that really bothers me because if you think about where the floor is, Rizzo should have exceptionally long legs to be standing where he is next to Kermit. But
Kermit's legs have to be really long to even stand next to the Fozzie.
Right. Or where Kermit, if Kermit is standing next to John Cleese, how long do Kermit's legs have to be? This is.
Well, it's after. Was it he was dealing with? Was it Mel Brooks where we got stretched out or something? Or that was Gonzo.
It was Gonzo. John Cleese stretches out Gonzo.
Yes.
Yeah. We could play Guess the Puppeteer's height. Because I could guess. Jim was over 6. Jim was, I think, 6'3". Frank's up there. Frank's 6'1".
Yeah, they're both pretty tall.
Yeah, Jerry Nelson was pretty tall. I actually know who Fran Brill is one of the shorter ones. Louise Gold is one of the shorter ones. Billy Beretta's pretty tall, I think. I think he's 6 foot.
6 foot something, yeah.
Yeah.
How about Richard
Hunt?
Yep.
Richie's had to be like 5'11". See, now I want to. What was Richard Hunt's height? I'm gonna say Richard Hunt was 5'11".
I'll end it on Marty, and because I know Marty's tall too, isn't he?
Robin? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Marty's huge. Marty's easily 6 something, 6'2", 6. I should know this because Marty's actually told me this. Marty's 6'1", 6'2", something like that.
We should save this for like the 200th episode. Do it like a trivia thing.
How tall is? I can't find Richard Hunt's height. Oh wait, hang on. Richard Hunt wiki. I think he's 6'1". If I'm. No, that's not the same Richard Hunt. I don't know how tall Richard Hunt was, or might have been.
If you know, and you're still listening,
If you know the height
of Richard Hunt, make sure to email
right
us.
in. See, I shouldn't have looked up because now I've ruined. I thought this was a great way to end the show, and people,
Yes.
Star Wars fans, are probably listening to us going, "Who's Richard Hunt? What are you guys talking about?"
Again, tell me about the Twinkie.
I thought we were going to go out on an 8, but I think we've just dropped ourselves back down to like a 7.2 on this show.
Yeah, well, at least 7. That's still above average.
Let's do one more celebrity height to see if we can win this one back. Who should we do? Let's make it Star Wars. Should we? Oh, you know what we should guess? Should we guess Ewan McGregor's height?
Yeah, okay. I was thinking somebody else, but that's.
Oh, well, who were you thinking?
I was thinking George himself.
Oh, George. I'm gonna say like 5'10". George Lucas.
Tall is George Lucas. All right. Oh, really? Okay.
Oh.
No, you're almost on Mark. We talked about Mark Hamill.
I actually just looked up because I was waiting for. No, he's 5'6". I won't look up the next one. I promise. I'll be good.
John Williams.
John. Oh, are we doing? Oh, okay. I was gonna say let's do this. Let's do John Williams. Let's do Ewan McGregor, and let's do Hayden Christensen.
Oh, Hayden, I know.
Hayden's tall.
Yes.
He's a lanky guy. I'm gonna say he's. Oh, who am I doing first? John Williams.
Let's do John Williams first.
Let's do John Williams first, and then I think that's a good place to end the show. So, and if people are listening to this, I am so sorry. I'm going to say John Williams. I'm going to say 5'11".
Very, very close.
Very close?
He's 5'12".
Up or down do I have to go?
Up.
I have to go up? So,
Yes,
is he 6 foot?
But... Yeah, 5'12". 6 foot.
What? How
5
tall?
foot 12.
5 foot.
5 foot.
6 feet. Stop saying that. What's wrong with you? All right, so now we're going to do Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen, right?
Yes.
Can I do Hayden Christensen first just to give me, because I know Hayden is taller than Ewan. I mean, if you've seen any of the recent pictures of the two of them, it's obvious. Hayden is obscenely tall.
Yes.
He's over 6 foot. Yes.
No.
No.
Oh wait. Hold on. I'm getting conflicting information here. 1 second.
Did you? Oh, well, I won't share that on. I've got something I'll tell you after the show because it's a little piece of Hayden Christensen trivia that my daughter likes to tell me.
All right, majority rules here on stuff that I have looked up. All right.
He's either
So
absurdly he's either absurdly tall or Ewan McGregor is absurdly short. But I'm more inclined to believe that Hayden Christensen is absurdly tall.
he's tall, but not as tall as.
Is he 6 foot?
Yeah. So one thing here is saying that he's 6'6", but everything else is saying that he's 6 foot.
Really?
Yeah. 1.83 meters. The majority of everything is saying
6 foot is what I'm seeing the most of. I haven't.
exactly.
Well, no, hang on. I got something to allow the actor to attain Vader's. Vader is 6'6".
That's it.
Vader is 6'6". Hayden Christensen
wears platform
is 6
shoes.
foot. Yeah, that's all right. So he's 6 foot. I'm gonna put Ewan McGregor at 5 foot. I'm gonna put Ewan McGregor at 5'7", 5'8", something like that.
Almost.
Do I go up or down?
Up.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Is it 5'9"?
Keep going.
5'10".
Hello there.
Wow. Because when he stands next to Hayden Christensen, he looks really short.
Yeah, but I guess apparently only a 2-inch difference though.
Really? That's interesting.
Hayden must just carry himself a little.
Yeah. He must have
thicker
been.
shoes.
He must have been. Yeah. Well, I think Hayden likes a little. In addition to being 6 foot, I think Hayden usually has a little bit of a heel on most of his shoes. If you sort of look at the sort of style shoe that he wears, he usually has a little, and that would actually bump him up another inch or so.
Could be.
Whereas Ewan McGregor is a hippie and wears sort of flat shoes.
Well, those Scots, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. This was a fun game. We will play this again. We'll warn the listeners so they know that we're playing guess the actor height, and they'll know we're not going to listen to the show anymore. When we run out of things to talk about, we'll play guess the height.
Well, like I said, we got episode 200 coming up. I've been trying to kick around a trivia episode.
Guess the height of. I like it.
We could do guess the height. We could guess the hair color. I don't know. Yeah.
We should do Disney Marvel's podcast trivia. Like, how well do you know this show?
Oh, jeez.
Like, we should do it like a whole guy. Like, how many times have I called you Radar on the show?
I don't even know that one.
I don't know that one. I don't think I can come up with how many times I've done it. I could probably guess which episodes I've done it in. Because there are like 2 or 3 episodes where I know I've done it.
Oh, especially early on.
See, I don't remember ever calling you until you pointed it out to me. Which I thought was one of my favorite conversations. For people who don't know this, first of all, for people who don't know this, I have an affectionate nickname for Matt, which is Radar. And I for 15, how long have we been friends now? 15, 16, 17, gosh, going on
17 years.
17 years we've known each other. And you've been Radar. I think literally, because it was about a month or so in that you became Radar. So I think it's like 17 years, like this week, that you earned the nickname Radar. And it's just what I've called you. It's what I always call you. It's almost hard for me to think of you also, as I sometimes forget that your real name is Matt. And
strangely enough, the same moniker that you carry.
Yeah. Sometimes I forget that my name is Matt. And I can't remember which episode we were doing. I think it was the time we had my daughter on. The first time that Em was on with us and we were talking Mandalorian, we were talking Ahsoka, and I said after the show, and that was hell for me because my daughter was there and it was this sort of very relaxed atmosphere between the three of us that I really I was sort of more in this relaxed atmosphere, not in like podcast mindset. And so I was calling you Radar, like, I mean, Matt, no, Radar, I mean, Matt, you know, or like catching myself. And I don't remember if this happened while we were recording or afterwards. I think it was afterwards. I said to you, I hope you appreciate how hard I work to not call you Radar when we're recording. And Matt laughed hysterically at me and just finally looked at me and went, "You have no idea, do you?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "You call me Radar at least once an episode." No, I don't. And yeah, I do. And since you pointed it out to me, I have caught myself. And I one of those I'll defend, which was when we had Matt Vogel on. I'll defend that because I did conscientiously call you Radar if I was trying to, because like three Matts, we couldn't. One of us had to be something else.
Well, yes, and he kept on.
Right, and
he was being a good sport about
it. He was having a lot of fun knowing that he was not the Matt I was trying to talk to, or that he was not the Matt that you were trying to talk to, but he was going to answer anyway.
Yeah.
Or not answer, because even though we were directing it at him. So I'll defend and I'll own the Matt Vogel episode where I called you Radar a couple times there, but
that's fine. That was a stressful episode for me.
I've slipped a couple times since then, and I've caught it.
That's right.
All right, so there's your first trivia question. What is my nickname for you?
And if you know the answer, again, post it to the social network for 1,000,000 useless bonus points.
Bonus points.
Yes.
And then the follow-up question is, which fellow Disney Marvels podcaster am I secretly married to?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Or not that I'm married to, but I have promised to be. What have I said? What do I say? I said I'm gonna pretend to be.
You get yourself in a lot of trouble here. Be careful.
What did I say? I can't remember. I say weird things on this show. I think I said I would be his wife, I think is what I said. I don't remember why I said that. But it's come up a couple of times recently where I would be.
This is true.
Yeah.
I thought, you had me going in a different direction at first because your wife has been onto the show.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but I'm not secretly married to her. I'm pretty publicly married to her. But no, there's somebody else I forgot she's been on the show. But there's somebody else on the show who I've promised that I would be their wife.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And now that the cast is growing of people that have been on the show or appearing on the show.
If you listen to the show enough, it's pretty. You don't even have to listen to the exact episode.
Yeah, if you listen enough, you know exactly who he's talking about.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell.
The choices are my wife, my daughter, and Isaac.
I hope it's not your daughter.
Yeah, I know. And we've already established I'm not secretly married to my wife, so I'm pretty publicly married to her.
She may secretly say that she's,
Yeah, she may deny it. I think this is a really good. It's like 1:00 in the morning. It's time for us to end this.
Yes, absolutely. Let's stop the insanity here. Thank you again for joining us, and we will continue this discussion again on part 4 of Kenobi.
Guess the actor's heights.
Yes.
Yeah.
And more insanity. Thank you again to Matt Leonard for joining us this week and talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi Part 3, challenging the height question. I think that's going to be a new fun game that we should play, new segment, and many, many other things, Star Wars and other related topics. What did you think of Episode 3, or Part 3 of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and some of this other stuff that we were talking about? Let us know. Join our conversation on Facebook group. Our Facebook group is Facebook.com/group/Disney Marvels Podcast, Instagram at Disney Marvels Podcast, TikTok, also Disney Marvels Podcast, and on the Twitter at Disney Marvels. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we have lots of stuff that we post there. You have the audio version of this show, as well as some other things that we've been have put up, and will be putting up from time to time. You can leave us a voice message, be heard on the show. You can do this through the Anchor app or Anchor.fm website. Or you can record your message electronically on your smartphone, tablet, or computer and email it to disneymarvels@gmail.com. You can also email any questions or suggestions you may have for the show to that address as well, disneymarvels@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the latest Disney Marvels blog over at disneymarvels.blogspot.com. Links to all these are in the show notes. I also want to let you know here that there'll be some changes coming to the Facebook settings shortly, and I will let you know what that is and what is changing and what you will have to do shortly, whenever I get it all straightened out and worked out myself. But yeah, I got a few things planned that I want to correct over there. In the meantime, though, I want to thank you for your time. I know how little time we all have these days, and knowing that we got to spend some of this time together really means a lot to me, to us, the whole family over here at Disney Marvels Podcast. I can't thank you enough, but it could please let your friends know. Share out the links on social media network, on Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, this, and whatever app. Send it out. Or if you're more of an in-person type of person, tell them about it. Hey, check out the Disney Marvels Podcast. And if you really, really want to help us out, give us a rating on Apple Podcast, on Spotify. Give us the thumbs up. Give us a good rating. We have all 5-star ratings at the moment. I truly, truly feel blessed about that, and I truly, it blows my mind, and I'm really thankful. Really, truly thankful to everyone who has given us a rating at the moment, and everyone's given us a 5-star rating. It makes me feel good. Please join in, give us a 5-star rating too, as long as you think we deserve it. But 5-star ratings are very nice. It helps the apps. It helps them. They will promote the shows as the ratings go on as well. The more people that join the conversation, the better. Walt Disney believed in a big Disney family, and so do I. Don't forget to subscribe to the show as well, so you can always know when new episodes are posted. And while you're at it, consider becoming a premium subscriber. Really, truly help the show out that way. You can do this over at anchor.fm/DisneyMarvels/support, or find our Patreon page. You can also check out our merchandise shop to get yourself some fun, cool Disney Marvels podcast stuff. We got a number of different slogans and shirts, hoodies, magnets, you name it. There's a bunch of things out there. And that also helps the show out too, and you get something out of it too. You get a nice shirt to wear around, or a hoodie to keep you warm. You can find links to all these also in the show notes, because remember, this show is brought to you by listeners like you. Again, I keep saying this quote, and it's from Anonymous. There's no one that this has been attributed to, but I always find it a nice one. That in Japan, broken objects are often repaired with gold. The flaw is seen as a unique piece of the object's history, which adds to its beauty. Consider this when you consider yourself feeling broken. As I always say, be your own hero. Never give up. Never give in. Let your light shine for everyone to see. Now, I'd like to end this week's quote, or the show, with a quote from Walt Disney himself. To try to keep an operation like Disneyland going, you have to pour it in there. It's what I call keeping the show on the road. Not just new attractions, but keeping it staffed properly. You know, never letting your personnel get sloppy. Never let them be unfriendly. That's been our policy all our lives. My brother and I have done that, and that is what has built our organization. Again, it's from Walt Disney himself. Thank you again for listening, everybody, and I'll see you next time.